Hello everyone and welcome back to the world of the VCO Esports Studio. Tomorrow is the return of VCO Pro Sim as we mash it up with the crazy idea that is VCO Infinity. 24 races in 24 hours. It's going to be a blast. But we bring in pro drivers after the experiment in May to make things a little bit more interesting. One of the more interesting names that is on our entry list is Adam Smalley. Not just a Porsche Great Britain junior driver, but also one of the newest members of the Apex Racing team. Adam, you've had a quite busy 2022. You're still testing this coming week, but you're getting ready to jump into the Apex Racing team rigs and go racing this weekend. How are you doing? Thanks for joining us here today.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you very much for having me on. It's a privilege to be sat here. And as you mentioned, it has been an absolutely hectic year. 12 months ago, I was picked as the Porsche GB junior driver, which was a massive privilege. I didn't expect it, to be honest. It all sort of came about. I entered the shootout with no real experience in a Porsche and gave it my all and got selected as the junior. So, yeah, it's been a crazy year since then. We had a great season finishing runner-up in the championship, and I'm really looking forward to next year. Aside from that, I got in touch with Apex Racing. So part of my role within the Porsche Junior program is to do sort of one-off events as well. So I was lucky enough to present the trophy at the Carrera Cup GB Esports. And at that event, I got in touch with, I bumped into Kevin Ellis Jr., presented him with his trophy, got speaking to him, and from there we just got chatting, and I'm delighted to announce that I'm a member of Apex Racing. So this weekend will be a bit different for me. First sort of real esports race I've done. So I'm looking forward to it. Willing to learn a lot, but yeah, going to give it my best shot.
You do have some good teammates at the Apex Racing team to learn from. And one thing that is kind of curious, you and I chatted briefly just before we went live. A lot of younger drivers that have come up in the last 10 or 15 years have used sim racing as a tool to learn tracks, to learn racecraft. You and I was discussing, and your sim at home is very different from the sims that you'll be using this weekend at the Apex Racing team facility.
Yeah, my sim is massively different. So I just started off, I think I've had it for 10 years. So my dad got it me as a birthday present or Christmas present, can't quite remember. And it's just a Thrustmaster, your standard off-the-shelf one from Amazon. But to be honest, it's done the job. It's done what I needed to do and sort of used it for what it's for. But obviously now looking to take my sim racing to that next step. I'm really looking forward to working with Apex Racing and also VRS. So yeah, it'll take a little bit of adaptation, getting used to a proper sim as such. But yeah, it'll be good fun. And as you mentioned, I've definitely got the best guys to learn from.
That rig's going to be arriving in a few weeks. I can't wait to see some pictures on social media. Let's jump back in time, though. I want to talk a little bit about your introduction to motorsports. Of course, like many in Great Britain, you started in the world of karting. But was motorsports a family passion? Is that something that your parents pushed you to look into?
It's actually a very good story, to be honest. So my father got me my first go-kart when I was 8. And yeah, it's a funny story because he actually went on the stag do. On the stag do, he went go-karting, came home, and then he bought one. And that was the start of the most expensive mistake of his life. Because before he knew it, I jumped in the go-kart and absolutely loved it. And yeah, from there we progressed sort of into father and son go-karting. It turned from a hobby racing sort of every 2-3 weekends. And when we started looking at competing in the British and European Championships. So I progressed up the karting ladder, and car racing was always something I wanted to do, but we didn't really have the opportunity. So I entered the Ginetta Junior Scholarship. So you might not have heard of that, but Ginetta is a car brand based near Leeds is the easiest way to say it. And they run sort of one make series. And they offer a scholarship to younger drivers. And it's quite a good story again, because I didn't even want to enter it at the time, because all my friends who were go-karting, they were all looking to go into car racing. And I didn't want to go to the scholarship with no experience and show myself up in front of them. And my dad was like, come on, you need to do it, we need to do it. So he got it me as an early Christmas present back in 2015, which feels like a lifetime ago now. And turned up there with no car experience, had literally never driven a car before I went, and I ended up winning it. So that's my first real sort of into car racing. From there, I progressed up the Ginetta ladder. So I went through the juniors, which I won in 2018, into the GT5s, and then most recently won the GT4 Super Cup Championship last year. But racing Porsche is always a dream.
I think we got some technical issues as Adam's trying to quickly figure that one out. But yeah, very fascinating story. Like Adam was saying, a couple championships on the way, winning the Ginetta Junior Championship in 2018 with 8 wins in 25 races, 8 wins in 20 races on his way to the GT4 Super Cup Pro Championship. So yeah, plenty of success once you were able to make that transition thanks to the scholarship.
Yeah, no, it was. So I don't know how you heard up to then, and apologies for the connection. It's not the best up north where I am. And yeah, I progressed through the Ginetta Juniors, which I won in 2018, and as I heard you saying then, into the GT4 Super Cup Championship, which I won last year. But the dream for me was to always compete in Carrera Cup, Porsche Carrera Cup. So the British short package is the most attractive package to be on in the UK. It gets live ITV4 coverage as well as newly ITV1 coverage. And there's also around 50,000 trackside audience. So it was always a dream for me to race in that package, being sort of Porsche is the one make series, and it's the fastest one make series there is in the UK. And for those that don't know, Porsche run a junior program every 2 years, and how you enter that is around about 40, 50 applicants. And first of all, you send your driver CV in. So nothing but your driver CV. Based off that, they narrowed it down to 12. So it's quite a harsh selection process. I was fortunate enough that I got down to the final 12. Then we had to go for an interview. So I drove all the way down to Silverstone. It took me like 3.5 hours to get there. And that was the most nerve-wracking interview in my life. I sat there on one side of the table, 5 or 6 judges on the other side, literally just all assessing me, properly putting you on the spot, firing questions at you. Because I think that people don't realise is now being a racing driver is much more than being quick in the car. You've also got to be marketable to get the sponsors, and also just be a well-liked person as well, which sort of lands you to those drives now. And after that, we had to wait 3 or 4 weeks. I got an email saying that I was down to the final 4, so that's my first real step. So the other 3 finalists, they all drove the car, and I didn't, to be honest, because I did want to drive it, but I also wanted to show the purest form of myself and that I could adapt to the situation. So we turned up on the shootout day. We had media interviews, fitness assessments, 3 sessions in the car, and the first one, yeah, it was really tough. I jumped in it and I was like, maybe I should have tested. But after it, I got my head around it, had a really good chat with the engineers, went out the second session, and yeah, did a good job from there onwards. But the harsh sort of thing about the whole program was that you had to wait sort of 3 or 4 weeks again afterwards. Then you had to go to the Porsche Awards evening, and the winner is announced there. So we had to sit through all the other awards, watch everyone pick up the trophies. The top 3 got presented, and the last award was the junior had been announced. So when they called my name out, that was a dream come true. And yeah, it's such a privilege to represent Porsche in their championship and be their junior driver.
I think that says a lot about your confidence in yourself and your adaptability to go into a shootout of that significance without having tested the car. I find that very, very fascinating. I do want to also ask, because it's not just giving you a drive in the Porsche Carrera Cup Great Britain in 2022 and 2023. You had the, I think privilege is the right way of saying it, of driving in the Porsche Super Cup during the Formula One weekend at Silverstone. What was that like for you when you've got 300,000 people there over the weekend?
It was crazy. And to be honest, so those that a lot of people don't know this. So being the junior, you get to do Porsche Super Cup round at Silverstone in your second year. The first year was completely unexpected. It was literally a week before the race, and it hadn't even crossed my mind. And I got a phone call up in the morning, and it was literally the Friday the week before. I got a phone call saying, "Would you like to come and do this?" And I was at Croft at the time, coaching someone. So Croft, which is up north. I remember picking up the phone, and they were like, "Oh, do you want to come and race at Silverstone next week?" And I was like, "Yes, definitely. What's the catch?" And yeah, we did have to pay for it, but it was massively reduced from what it should have been. So I was on the phone literally all that day, ringing around sponsors, and seeing how many people we could get on board, and sort of giving it one big push. And I was very fortunate that our title partner Duckham's, they came on board to support me, which I'm so thankful for them to have got me on the grid that weekend. But as you mentioned, it was an amazing feeling. Turning up on the Thursday, I was walking the track, and I had Lewis Hamilton walking around next to me, which was pretty incredible feeling. But it was also such a tough weekend. People don't don't realise how limited the testing is in Porsche Super Cup. It really does provide sort of the pinnacle of drivers. And I turned up. I know Silverstone from sim stuff, which was very handy beforehand. I spent all week on my sim at home, but it doesn't quite do it justice. And I've never driven the Porsche around Silverstone. So when I turned up on the Friday practice, we literally had 10, 12 laps to get into it, and all the other drivers had done a 3-day official test. But of course, because we signed up late, I missed that. So I was having to figure out the gears, what gear to be in, all the braking points. It was, the most stressful half an hour practice of my life. Then we went out in qualifying and we only had one lap. And because the rain came down, as we went out the pits, rain came down and it kind of ruined it for everyone because you qualified in the order you went out the pits in. So that was, pretty unlucky. So I think at the start of the race, I was down in 20 seconds, managed to fight my way up to 9th, which was cool. And then, crossed the line in 12th. So, it was a very good weekend, but it's really nice being the Porsche Junior to be able to be given that opportunity next year, to sort of give it my all and know what to expect and, hopefully aim a little bit higher.
And I was going to ask about next year and your goals as going into a second year as the Porsche Junior driver. I have to assume you want to go one better in the championship, but knowing that you're going to get another crack at being at the Formula One Grand Prix weekend, I have to assume that the goal is to squeak your way maybe even to the top 5 of the podium when you roll back around to Silverstone next summer.
Yeah, definitely. Porsche Super Cup is so difficult, and obviously it's such a privilege to be the junior driver having this second year in the championship. This year we had an amazing season, being part of the Duckham's UASA racing with Red Line team. I know that's a little bit of a tongue twister, but we had a great year finishing vice champion. We had multiple podiums along the way, and obviously, great sort of weekend at Silverstone. All things considered that we didn't test beforehand. So, I'm really excited to return next year. We've got a few more things in the pipeline as well, which I'm looking forward to announcing sort of in the coming weeks. But I'm just going to give it my all. My background in genetics is a little different to the Porsche. With the engine being in the rear of the Porsche, it does make it quite challenging to get your head around. When the weight was on the front in the Ginetta, it was all about attacking the entries, braking as late as you can, whereas that's kind of the opposite in the Carrera Cup GB car. So I think with a year under my belt now and the experience that I've got, I definitely, there is only one goal in mind. I've made it very difficult for myself, because the ultimate goal is to go one step higher. I know it's not going to be easy to do so. The championship is very tough, and there's some other great drivers in the series. So I'm going to give it my best shot, and fingers crossed we can have another strong season.
Just help me clarify something, because I was trying to do a Google search and I wasn't able to clarify this. Does the Porsche Great Britain series allow ABS and traction control? Because I do know a number of the Carrera Cups do allow you to have some driver aids.
No, we don't get anything. We have no TC, no ABS, so it does make it challenging. But I think it does make the racing also very close, because if you are looking for that extra bit of time, you can find it by taking a risk. But if you brake, a fraction too late and you have a lock-up, then you are going to pay the price for it. So it does make the cars very challenging to drive. But that's what we all love, and that's why we keep going round and round.
I was actually asking because it makes the step up to the Super Cup a little bit easier, because I know there have been some drivers who have had to learn a car without anti-lock brakes and traction control for the very first time while in the Super Cup, which I don't think is the place that you want to do that. Let's talk about tomorrow. VCO Pro Sim Infinity will be driving down to Corby and then doing lots of practice to start off the event in the Indy car at Fuji. And this is a wild and wacky idea, Adam. I mean, a 24-hour race, but it's 24 races in the 24-hour period. I mean, this is something that we can only do in the world of esports, and I think this is one of the reasons why, as sim racers, we enjoy the accessibility of motorsports that we have.
Yeah, I think you summed it up there by saying weird, wacky, and wonderful. I've never done anything like this before. As I said, I'm very new to sim racing, which probably comes as a shock to some people. So driving an Indy car around Fuji is definitely going to be a bit of a challenge, to say the least. But I've got a great team behind me within Apex Racing. So I'd like to say a massive thank you to them, and also VRS for the opportunity. And I'm going to set off tomorrow morning, drive down and just do as many laps as possible. I don't think I've got too many graveyard shifts, so luckily I can still get my sleep in a little bit. But I'm looking forward to it. I think within the sim racing I've done, it's only been just purely, novice sort of based stuff, really. So learning from the guys at Apex has been, really, really encouraging, and it's opening sort of my mind to the esports world, because I didn't realise before how big the esports world was, how big sim racing was, and also how high the level is. I know, for example, Kevin Ellis Jr., I had a good training session with him a couple of weeks ago. It is amazing at how fast he is, and the techniques he does, and even the extent of data and knowledge they have. It's even in more in depth than real life. And I think the biggest thing that I've realised is how committed these guys are. And say I'm going racing next season, for example, and round one for us is at Donington. We might do 6 test days prior to that, and on each test day, we've got things like tyres, for example, that you don't have to worry about in sim racing, because you can just keep going round and round. They're a very expensive consumable for us. So we probably do 2-3 hours running each day maximum. So to think that we'll do, I don't know, say 12, 14 hours worth of running, that's it, all pre-season up until we're going to go racing, and the sim guys can do that in a day. I think it's incredible, and I've got to give it to them for their commitment towards it. And I think it's great.
Yeah, I got the figure for just dry tires for a weekend in the Porsche Carrera Cup North America is 12,000 for the 3 slick sets that you're given. So yes, that is very much a resource which I think sim racers are glad they do not have to pay for. Now, no pressure, by the way, this weekend, because I don't know if you noticed, but your arrival to the team has brought out team manager Alex Simpson to get back behind the wheel and join you in the 5-man crew. You've got Brandon Trainer, Will Redford, and David Sampson as part of the 5-man lineup. You talk about not being in a graveyard shift. How much experience do you have with endurance racing, given that you haven't really done it in the real world and you haven't done too much sim racing either?
To be honest, I hold my hands up, not a great deal. That's why it's a massive privilege to be part of the Apex team, to sort of learn all this stuff. And I think it's going to be a challenge to learn it all, and it's also going to be massively beneficial going forward in my career as well within the real world, because you can kind of prepare all these things on the sim, which I don't think people realise. A lot of people, when you turn around to the general public and say, "Oh yeah, I'm going sim racing," they don't understand it. But for me, it's a massive training tool, and obviously working with Alex and all the other guys at Apex, it's going to be, definitely an experience. And I think a lot of the things I learn throughout the event, and also throughout next year and looking forward into the next few years, that I'll learn in the esports world is going to benefit me as a driver in the real world. So I'm really looking forward to it.
I want to jump back to the real world for a second here, because of course you are the Porsche Great Britain Junior, but Porsche does the Global Junior Shootout, which was a couple of years ago, won by a sim racer in the form of Lauren Heinrich, who has commitments in his Porsche contract to work in the realm of esports. He's an official member of the Porsche Commando Works team. Is that maybe something that's creeping into your mind as well, as you look forward to maybe another shootout in the Porsche manufacturer brand, seeing what you can do in the world of esports with the great team at Porsche?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely something I want to get more involved with. And you've even got to look at the likes of GT World Challenge now that have, an official round on the sim, which I just think is great for the sport as a whole, bringing in the esports world with the real life world. I think that's great, and there should be more of it. So I'm making sure that once the sim arrives, I'll be doing as many laps as possible to prepare myself for the esports world and also the real world. But I think Porsche are definitely getting behind the whole esports as well. As you mentioned with Lauren, that's really cool to see, and he's had a fantastic year now, and I'm sure he's got some other things in the pipeline. So I'm looking forward to it, and who knows, I might do the odd guest round in some esports racing throughout the year as well. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's in store.
Well, the thing we know for sure is the Apex Racing team are definitely busy enough to keep you occupied if you do want to do some guest races. Thank you so much for joining us, Adam. I know we had a bit of a mix-up trying to get started, but I'm so glad we had this conversation. Cannot wait to see you in action tomorrow, so best of luck in the VCO Pro Sim Infinity and for the rest of 2022, and looking forward to 2023.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone. I just say it's, like I say, massive to everyone at Apex Racing again. It's going to be a great event. I'm going to give it my all, and yeah, I'm just going to enjoy it. So yeah, thank you very much, and yeah, can't wait to get the weekend underway.
It's going to be weird, wacky, and wonderful, apparently. The 3 Ws you want to hear about a 24-hour race. Join us for VCO Pro Sim Infinity on the 9th of December at 6 p.m. CET. For the start, myself, Lewis McLeod, and Ben Constant-Juris will be there for the first handful of hours as we work through 24 hours twice around the clock. We'll be back hopefully next week with another fascinating guest from the world of esports racing. But for now, for everyone at VCO, for Mike Yao behind the scenes, my name is Arjuna Kankipati. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time. For now, race on.